Hello everyone, and welcome back to Sercoach Shows Off Pathfinder 2e. Today, I have a new archetype that I have put together that people might be interested in. And this is the Master Thrower archetype. I've heard around that people are interested in a thrown weapon build for their characters. But there's very little support for this type of build in base 2e at this point. So I decided to throw this together. Now, a few of the feats that are currently in the system that I decided to add to this are Strong Arm, Hurling Charge, Ricochet Stance, and Far Throw. So let's start by see what's already in here. So Strong Arm is usually available at level 2. This class makes it available at level 4. Your strike with a thrown weapon, the weapon's range increment increases by 10 feet. Quite nice, especially if you only have a 10-foot range increment to start with. You now have 20 feet. Awesome. Next one, Hurling Charge. This is usually for the Viking dedication, or Viking archetype. It's available at level 4 still, so same level. And for this one, when you make a ranged strike with a thrown weapon, you can then stride and then draw a new thrown weapon. And if you're raging, you add raging bonus to that. So this is an okay one. Lets you get a little bit of movement, and if you don't have some form of quick draw, it lets you get a weapon back out. The next feat is Ricochet Stance. It's level 6 for fighters. I've also decided to make it level 6 for this archetype. And there's a major reason for this. It's because this is actually a slightly limited feat. So it's a stance. So one action, you get into the stance. And you throw a weapon, it bounces back to you. That's great. There's a few caveats to it. Firstly, has to do with bludgeoning or slashing. Piercing weapons will not bounce back to you. Secondly, it has to be within the first range increment of that weapon. This means combined with Strong Arm, it's quite nice, but by itself, you have to keep that in mind. Now, if you're outside that first range increment, what will end up happening? Let's say your weapon was a range of 30 or range of 20, and you're throwing it 30 feet. You throw it. You take the penalty for being outside that first range increment. It hits them. It starts bouncing back, but it only comes back 20 feet. So it's going to land 10 feet in front of you. So this is nice, but it's still somewhat limited. So just keep that in mind. And the final feat that I'm including that's already in the game is Far Throw. You would think this is what Strong Arm does, but this one reduces that range increment penalty to -1 instead of -2. So this lets you throw weapons really far away for very little penalty. Quite nice. So those are the 4 feats that I'm decided to make bonus feats for this archetype. Now let's look at the archetype itself. For the dedication, you become trained with all simple, martial, and advanced weapons with the thrown trait. If it does not have the thrown trait, this does nothing. Furthermore, if your proficiency with simple or unarmed attacks increases at all, your proficiency with thrown weapons increases as well. So this will give you very, very good proficiency with thrown weapons. As is normal, you can't have more than 3, you have to take at least 3 feats before you can take a different dedication. Quick Throw. This one is essentially quick draw, but it only works with thrown weapons. That might seem a little iffy, but there's one extra caveat for this one. If you have another feat that requires you to have a readied thrown weapon in 1 or 2 hands, you count as meeting that requirement as long as you have Quick Throw. So some other feats in the game require you to have a weapon in hand, and even if you have quick draw, it doesn't count. Here it does. Two-handed throw. This is the first one that really starts getting meaty with your thrown weapons. So you have to have a thrown weapon ready in 2 hands. And you hurl it with both hands. It doesn't give you any extra range, and it counts as 2 attacks. But you do extra damage dice. This is essentially power attack with a thrown weapon. Always fun. Ricochet throw. So this is not the same thing as ricochet stance. For this one, you choose a solid object and a target for your attack. Okay? And then you make a ranged strike with your thrown weapon. Cover for your target is determined from that object that you're bouncing off of. Furthermore, if the target of your attack is between you and the object, you throw it, it bounces off from behind them, they're flat-footed to your attack. Now keep in mind, the distance for the attack is the total distance that the thrown weapon travels. So it's going to go to the object and then to your target. So if you're throwing it at somebody, object 20 feet behind, and then the person's only 10 feet in front of you, that's a total of 30 feet that you're throwing the weapon. So if your range increment's only 20, you are going to be into your second range increment, so you'll be taking a penalty there. So keep that in mind for ricochet throw. Next feat. You drop this? It's reaction. So trigger for it. An attacker fails an attack roll to hit you or a creature within your reach with a thrown weapon. Okay? So somebody real close to you missed with a thrown weapon. You can't be flat-footed. And you have to have a hand free. As long as you meet those double requirements, I'll try and fix that when I get a chance, you grab that thrown weapon. And you now have an extra thrown weapon in your hand, which guess what? You're proficient with, because it's a thrown weapon. Now, the fun part. If the attack was a critical miss, you can make a ranged attack back against that thrower. That's just part of this reaction. And it's not against your multiple attack penalty, and it doesn't increase. So, if they critically miss you, or one of your allies near you, grab it, throw it right back at them. It's very similar to the Swashbuckler's riposte, and this just seems really fun for characters. And then jumping from 8 to 16, Projectile Storm. You can probably guess where this is going, but not fully. So first of all, you have to have quick throw. That's just a requirement. Unfortunately, I have not had a chance to update this yet. Quick throw or holding a weapon with returning on it. That's something that I meant to add. I will have that up before I have this document available. Now, you attack all your nearby adversaries. So you can make a ranged attack, a ranged strike, against a number of enemies within 20 feet. Up to the number of thrown weapons that you have available. And if you have a returning weapon, you have an infinite number available. So you can attack all your enemies within 20 feet. Okay? You roll the strike roll only once, and you compare the result to every target that you have chosen. And then each target counts towards your multiple attack penalty. Now, here's the fun part, and something I haven't really seen too much in any other feat. You can augment this action. It's kind of like meta magic, but it's a free action that you can augment it with. And you only can augment it with one of these. It depends on what other feats you have. If you have strong arm, you can choose targets within 30 feet instead of 20. If you have two-handed throw, you treat it as your second multiple attack penalty for all of your attacks. But you gain the additional damage of the two-handed throw. Ricochet stance. You have to be in the stance as well. Well, you can target any number of targets within range instead of limiting it to the number of weapons you're carrying. So again, if you have a returning weapon, you don't have to worry about that one as well. Ricochet throw. All your targets are flat-footed to these attacks. Hurling charge. You may stride up to your speed before determining your ranges. So you can choose one of these to augment your projectile storm with. Sounds fun. At level 20, you can choose two of these. So if you want, you can make a two-handed throw on all those targets. And they can all be flat-footed. This can be insanely powerful, depending on the situation you're in. Now, as always, if you go down to the description, you will find the PDF for this, so you can go ahead and download it and use it in your own games. If you have any comments, I would appreciate them down at the bottom. And until next time, this is Sercoach, signing off.